you go, sir.
No, that's perfect.
What's the album again?
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's
think
no,
it's the Tarzan soundtrack.
yeah,
Oh,
by our
that's
our
probably
boy.
his best work, to be honest.
Yeah,
Strangers
definitely
Like
how
Me.
most of us know this guy in our
Yeah.
generation. Like I was
Um,
even talking with my sister the other day about this album, and she was like, "Phil Collins, oh yeah, Tarzan." Like she was born 1990. It's like,
Yeah,
in terms of knowing who Phil Collins is, that's really it. And
yeah,
I think that's how it's going to be going forward. Like I don't know how much you guys know about the guy, but I'm a pretty big fan of Genesis. I got into them in high school. They got a lot of cool prog rock music, and then they tend to get like a little more poppier in the 80s, kind of following the trend of Phil Collins' extremely poppy sound that you get on this album. But he started like drumming for them in like early 70s, drummed with them for a while. Originally like didn't want to sing at all. Like he sang lead on like one or two songs on their whole discography, but was content just like playing drums. Didn't even really write that many songs leading up into the 80s. But as people know, like his multiple divorces inspired a lot of his music. In like the late 70s, he almost left the band because he went to go try to save his marriage. Didn't work out, came back, ended up staying with the band, and wrote
awesome.
his first album, Face Value, like about that divorce. Songs like In the Air Tonight come out of that album.
dude,
Definitely like so ubiquitous in society.
I think
it's
I've heard of
crazy
it.
that his debut album, the first song is "In the Air Tonight" on his debut album. That's insane. Like that's
Yeah.
coming out swinging right there. That's, I mean,
Yeah, he kind of peaked on his first
Yeah,
song.
imagine peaking the day you're born, you know? And he did.
But he absolutely knocked it out of the park. Like, and I like Genesis and heard that album, and I was like, that's awesome. This is a great album.
yeah,
Definitely worth checking out outside of this one. But he stayed with Genesis, kept playing with them. And eventually in the middle of the 80s, like he was riding a major high. Like Genesis was doing really well. They released the song like Easy Lover with Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind and Fire. That was a huge hit. Another like movie soundtrack hit. And then he drops this album, which like I think is kind of like a titan of the 80s. If any like anything I have to point to of like what makes the 80s the 80s, like what is the sound
Yeah,
that you
I
tie to
agree.
this decade?
this is the sound of the '80s. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's one of like the best uses of the 80s sound. Like there's a lot of synth, but like I think he employs like a lot of guitar. Like he has a lot of these like synth power ballads, like a lot of drum machine usage. But I think it just like really is like pulls no punches though. Like it uses all of those things in the best, most open way. Even though it's kind of hard to have like a lot of critics didn't take like too much of a shine to it because they would say it's like too commercial or like too popular. Some might even say,
Hmm.
but I don't know, not me. I'm a big
um,
fan.
what are your thoughts on like his retrospective on it? Because it's been said that he is not a huge fan of it now.
Yeah, he said that like it was hit like the least him being him.
Yeah,
He was like trying to do things differently. Like he even said like I was doing a lot of like these sad kind of more somber songs. He wanted to do something more dance oriented, something more upbeat.
hmm
And I guess if his critical outlook is like, oh, that wasn't me being authentic, then like I'm fine with that. Like some of his like later stuff in his career, like after this album, he kind of falls off for me. Like he kind of has two branches for his solo career. He has like the poppier songs, the more famous stuff, and what I would call the more adult contemporary stuff. Like you kind of hear it with songs like One More Night on this album. Like he loves those slow, like ballady songs, which I think there's a place for him. Like you don't get totally sick of it, but he really trends towards that later in his career. And if that's like authentic him, like you go do that, man. I liked you thinking outside of the box. I liked him trying to do something different.
Hmm. Yeah,
So I
no,
guess
it's
I
a
don't
pretty
entirely agree with him. I think he should be
yeah.
proud of it.
well. He's old now. He's probably got dementia. Doesn't even remember to making the album and
Yeah.
stuff.
How
He's
old
had
is
like at least one stroke.
He's listening to it
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, this guy sucks."
Who is this?
Yeah. Welcome back to Who's Records, where we make fun of people who make music.
Yeah, people with superior talents than us.
Exactly.
I am interested to hear what Nigel thinks of the album because on
Ooh.
record, he is a big 80s guy. And I would
Yeah.
like to see if this passes his 80s litmus test.
And he's a drummer.
Yeah,
And
there's a
Yeah,
lot going on here.
heavy album.
There's
Very
some good stuff to get into here.
Literally every
Um,
song it just opens with the drums. Like
I'm gonna try to figure out how to use Zoom, and I'm gonna screen share.
Oh boy, here we go, everyone.
Let's see.
Yeah, we don't
Okay,
have-
I'm gonna click
Inky's
something.
gonna
Let's
be
see if it
pissed.
crashes.
We don't even have the-
no.
we don't even have the album up.
Alright,
Inky's gonna be pissed.
All right.
I was
First
wondering what
off,
looked different.
shout out the website, Inky. I got you.
Hey,
Oh yeah.
Sick intro. Let's
I
go.
don't know if there's anything new that we need to know about, but this is some great stuff, and you need to go buy it. All right. And I think there's a discount, but you should honestly just send them some extra money because what a selection they have here.
Stand a charity. These
Yeah.
first 5 albums have been here since day one. We gotta
If
push.
you click on shop,
We gotta
you
push.
can-
We
the
got a
you know.
cycle inventory.
and you can about us. I don't know who us is, but yeah, look at this. Look at that. That's us. All of
Inky.
us live right there in the same room. We just Zoom call because it's we like technology.
these are the 4 walls of the same room.
yeah, yeah.
Believe it
You
or
could,
not.
like try not to get doxxed or something because he does not live in San Francisco.
Okay, now I need to remember how to pull up the album. Wait, no, I think I
You're
can.
so
Other
close, man.
tab.
I know. I accidentally clicked something else. Can I do this? You guys see that?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. There
Okay,
he is. There's the man
Cecilia.
himself.
What does the name mean? No jacket required.
Well, there's like a story that Phil was going out to dinner with Robert Plant to this like one restaurant in Chicago that I forget the name of. But Phil Collins was refused entrance because he wasn't wearing a proper jacket.
That's some
Wow.
bullshit.
So he like
Those
went on
places.
a bunch of like he went on like the late show circuit and like bashed the place. And they like sent him a jacket and told him he could show up whenever he wants.
Sounds like a Seinfeld episode. There's one
Yeah.
where
I didn't have the jacket.
yeah,
You didn't have the jacket?
exactly.
That's also like a famous guy power move. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
fuck you.
Shit on them on live
me
on
in.
TV to everyone.
So you got the album up, Nige.
I do have the album up. I'm doing a little scrolly for the audience. I don't know what I'm looking for. Inky usually handles this.
I could just
Here's
keep
Prince
talking.
Charles. He's
Yeah.
related to this somehow.
At his 40th birthday party.
Not knowing that Prince Charles divorced from his wife. Oh, wow. That's relevant some way.
I'm gonna get into the royalty.
I know
yeah.
where the,
Pull up the track list.
I know where this hotel is. I used to live right by it.
It's
Yeah,
not the track
it seems
list.
like a place.
Track list. Here we go. We'll
Yeah.
start here. Pretty beautiful track list. 10 songs. Perfect number. Can't complain. I don't know what this bonus track is. Is that on the version
Oh,
you guys
interesting.
listened to? I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on Spotify.
Yeah, so that's like the CD one.
trying to think because I don't think this is the order they're on.
I think
Yeah,
It
they are.
is.
it is. Yeah.
Okay. Does someone else want to go, or do you want me to go first?
I mean, you can go if you want, but I could also keep going. Seamus really wanted to hear your opinion, and I'm really curious too.
Okay. Well, sure, I'll go. Just to start off, favorite song, MVP of the album. Where is it? Take Me Home. Take Me Home is a great song.
Nice.
It's been on my classic rock playlist for a long time. And I've known a couple other of these songs. One I didn't know before this, but I enjoyed is Long Way to Go. Thought that was a good one. Definitely a completely different vibe, I guess, from Take Me Home, but I like the kind of just slow
Dark tone, you know.
Yeah, it's dark. It's also kind of not theatrical, but like it feels like you could put it in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you got
Um,
Sting singing background vocals on that song,
oh, really?
That's
I
cool.
didn't know
I
that.
didn't even peep that.
dude. Yeah, you'll hear him next time.
It's also 420 long, which is
Sick.
sick, super sick. I guess after that, I'll start on song number one, Susudio. Does anyone know what the hell that means?
Yeah, it's nonsense words.
Okay.
He like came up with the like drum machine background part, and he just started like saying words, and he said Susudio, and he's like, oh, I like that, and he tried to think of a name to replace it and couldn't think of one, so he was just like, that's it, Susudio.
Wow, that's
So it means nothing.
That's cool.
that's great. Fantastic. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't love this album. Um
Really?
yeah, and like you said at the beginning, Dan, I think it is like it's not like the pinnacle of the 80s, but it's definitely like the 80s sound encapsulated in an album. But in my opinion, I don't like the way that it encapsulates it. And this the album sounds kind of um like plastic to me. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it just sounds kind of I don't know, maybe I kind of agree with his own take. It doesn't sound super authentic. It sounds kind of forced at times.
Yeah, that's kind of like
Um
where the critics were saying it was really commercial in like a
really.
bad way, and I'd see that.
Because I do like some of the songs, but a lot of them I just feel like I just I don't know, they just don't hit for me. The percussion is interesting in a lot of the songs. I like the percussion in Long Long Way to Go. I like it in Take Me Home. Um to Studio as well. But I just don't I don't love the drums sound of this album, which is a little bit more I guess picky than most people will get, but like the rhythms are interesting, the percussion's interesting, but like it's all these like very reverby, washed out drums that I'm not really a fan of. I think it works sometimes, but I'm also not a fan of them in general in his music, not just this album, but
Mhm.
also in his time with Genesis. I also
Yeah,
don't like Phil Collins' voice. So that's a pretty big bias. I think his voice is kind of flat or thin. Um, it just doesn't have a timbre that's appealing to my ears personally. I think it definitely works on some songs, but a whole album of it for me is just like is I don't want to be around it.
yeah.
Um, but it is difficult because I love the 80s and I love synths, and there are a lot of synths, but they just seem kind of uninspired, I guess is the word I would use. They seem like he picked a bunch of default patches on the synth and then just kind of like played around with them. I want to scroll down and see who else worked on this album. Um, yeah, it looks like the mostly other people played the keyboards. It looks like he touched on the keyboards too. Um,
Phoenix Horns, dude. Let's go.
Peter Gabriel.
yeah, I thought it was pretty
Yeah, Peter
interesting.
Gabriel was on Take Me Home.
The yeah, yeah.
Can't hear
The
that name without thinking about Chicago.
yeah, Peter Gabriel. Peter. Yeah. Um I thought there were interesting parts. I forget which song it is, but there's like this whole like horns, like going back and forth between the horns and the guitar, and the synths. I think it's later in the album. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it just
Probably
it
Inside Out.
um yeah, I'd have to listen to it again, but yeah, just didn't really hit with me. I think the way that the synths were used were just kind of uninspired to me. For the most part, there were some songs like I mentioned, "Long Long Way to Go" is is cool and interesting, but a lot of them just seemed yeah very poppy, just like formulaic. Okay, this is the verse, this is the hook, this is the verse, this is the hook. Um, and some of the songs, um, I think "Inside Out" was maybe it, and also Don't Lose My Number. It's like it's literally just the hook over and over and over again. And I don't know, I like variety in my songs. So I wasn't the biggest fan. I think that some of the songs were good. If I had to pick a least favorite song, it might be Inside Out.
That's your least favorite?
Okay.
Yeah, I did not like that one. And it's sad because I am a drummer, and he's a drummer, and there was interesting percussion, but I don't like what he did with the drums like at all on this album.
I get being sick of the gated reverb like drum sound.
Yeah.
But, like,
So how do you
he
feel about In the
totally
Air Tonight?
popularized Within the Air Tonight.
Yeah, like so I feel like it's very similar to In the Air Tonight. So how do you feel about that?
I mean, I think that song's pretty good. I think that the fill itself and the way it sits in the song is what makes it great. I don't think that the mixing of the
I think it's
drums
the
is
build that really is like
yeah.
something special.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yes. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I'm not advocating for it.
Yeah,
I was just
I love that
curious.
song.
yeah.
That one always hits.
But even that song, like, I don't
He's trying to join Nigel, by the way.
oh, that's why that popped up. Yeah, it's been sitting on my screen. Let Inky join.
Don't let him in.
Finally,
Yes.
he's been knocking. He's been knocking.
Yeah. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan, unfortunately. Even though I do love the 80s. I guess I went into it not expecting to love it because I don't love Phil Collins' voice. But I did find a song or two that I didn't know before that I enjoy, but I probably won't be listening to this all the way through anytime soon. Yeah, it's about all I got though.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Is Inky like in? Does he need me to do
I think he
something?
just chatted.
He's fine. He's just
I don't
listening.
know.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat to Nigel. I would say I'll start with the stuff that I really liked. I really liked Long, Long Way to Go. That is such a cool song. Never heard it before. Really enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed Inside Out. I think that kind of highlights some of the 80s sound that I really do like. I think something interesting I found out was this was the #2 album of the year behind
Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms.
Yeah, Brothers in Arms, which I think
there was also the Grammy album of the year.
Yeah, it won the album of the year. So I'm not sure. I guess it was like Billboard album of the year, like on the Billboard charts, #2 behind Brothers in Arms. I think Brothers in Arms is like one of the best albums ever. I think we should review that album.
Yes, I agreed.
What album?
Brothers in Arms. Dire Straits, like Minor for
Inky's
Nothing.
probably rock solid right now hearing you say that.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Inky and I listen to Brothers in Arms, like on driving through like the hills in Sonoma near toward the beach, and it was fantastic. The vibes were just perfect, and I was trying to contextualize this album in like what was going on at the time, and the fact that album came out the same year, I was like, all right, so there was a lot of other really good stuff happening in '85, and this album was on like the other spectrum of what popular music was at the time. And there's a couple songs that I think highlight like the stuff that was just really commercialized of the time, that being Studio, Only You and I Know, those two specifically, and then like I think maybe Don't Lose My Number, I forget. Or I thought I don't know if I can like listen to those songs again. I've listened to Studio like a million times. Everyone knows it.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of Only You and I Know. Like that song just doesn't do it for me. It reminds me of Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny, how he's always listening to like the bad era of Steve Winwood, in my opinion.
Like Sticks and shit.
Yeah, just like I don't know. It's part of the 80s that I don't love, but I do love a lot of the 80s. And I would say Take Me Home is like top tier song, like one of the best songs in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then like new songs that I found I like a lot were Long, Long Way to Go and Inside Out. I think those are two like fantastic songs. added to a bunch of playlists. Like I love them. I'm glad I was put onto them by this album. But the songs that are, and also We Said Hello Goodbye is like a really good closing song to the album. Like it brings down the vibe a little bit, and it's just kind of like a nice send off toward the end. I really enjoyed it. I'll definitely be listening again. But One More Night, Studio, and Only You and I Know, those three songs make it that I'm not going to listen to the entire album again. So I'd say it's got some really high highs, but then some low lows as well.
Yeah, if I could jump in real quick, just to add another thing. Another thing I did not like about this album was the lyrics. So Seamus, you can just take 5 minutes off.
Yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit.
Yeah. Like I thought the lyrics, I paid a lot of attention to them because they're, a very, I think, prominent part of this album because he repeats a lot of stuff over and over again. But I just thought they were super basic. And they weren't very interesting. And it kind of, for me, in a lot of songs on this album, just sounded like he just picked a phrase and like, okay, I'm just gonna say this 4 times. That's gonna be the hook, and then I'm gonna pick another phrase, say it 4 times. That's gonna be the hook, and that's how Inside Out is. That's how Don't Lose My Number is. That's how Susudio is. Like, it just seemed very. I mean, uninspired is the word I used before, but I think it fits best.
I feel like I see where you're coming from. I feel like it's a decision that isn't like necessarily bad. I think it can be interpreted as such as you did, but also like I feel like this a lot of the sound from this era, and I think this is like Dan said, this is a good like snapshot of it, is really polarizing. You either really love it or you really don't. And I think that's where you and I are like both coming from with like half of the album. It's just really polarizing, and I totally respect and understand that a lot of people love it, and it's some of it's just not for me. But I feel like some of the repetitive stuff, I don't think he was alone in doing it. I guess you could say maybe it's like uninspired, but I don't know. I feel like it's just another literary tactic. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
There were popular songs like "You Spin Me Right Round."
Yeah, that's a fun one.
People didn't give a crap. They just wanted to like get down.
Yeah, it is. You're right. That's a great point. It's dancing music, and that's what he did with this album. And you look at popular dance music now, it's the same thing. So yeah, if you take it in the context of like what the goal of the album was.
Yeah, he's got a lot of like simple lyrics about like relationships too. Like a lot of these are just different takes and different perspectives on like breakups or getting together,
Yeah.
Doesn't anybody stay together anymore? It's pretty blatant.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I think for me, it just because it's so clearly about that for every song, it just gets like, oh, okay, another version of the same song.
Yep.
Or the same story. But
which is definitely like the fairest take on this album. And I feel like I've definitely felt the same way. Like even listening to this back in like junior year of high school, like some of these songs are pretty skippable. Like I kind of agree with you guys that Only You Know and I Know is a song that sometimes I can't tolerate. It would just be like, nah. But then like coming back to it, there are other songs like I Don't Want to Know. It's like I saved that song instantly. I was like, oh my God, this is such a bop.
That's another
like
one
out of all the
good.
songs that like he did with Daryl Stuermer, who was like the touring guitarist for Genesis, starting in like the late 70s. I think that might be like my MVP. I Don't Want to Know has been like a vibe this summer for me. I was like started re-listening to this in like June, and it's been I've always coming back to that song really.
Nice. What do you guys go back like? What are you guys currently going back to? Like when you open Spotify and you're like, I need to listen to something. What have you guys been listening to besides these albums?
You mean like what's like in our rotation?
Yeah, I'm just curious, honestly.
It was like the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and I was just kind of letting hip hop autoplay, and it was playing a bunch of like Wu-Tang Clan
Nice, nice.
Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I was like, oh shit, let's go.
For reasons I won't get into, but I listened to a lot of Lil Uzi Vert recently.
Love Lil Uzi, man.
This
Lil
guy's
Uzi's
talking
fun.
about lyrics and he's listening to Lil Uzi.
I mean, I didn't choose it, but Lil Uzi's got some bangers if that's the vibe. But
Agreed. Yeah, he does.
yeah, I haven't.
But mostly
I've just been
donuts.
Nice.
Fair. Yeah, I've been just switching between my Sunday vinyl playlist, which is like classic rock, but you know, a little bit of the slower, brighter Sunday chilling vibes, and my grunge playlist, which is all of the opposite.
Nice.
So that covers a lot of ground between those two, I'd say.
If you go to, sorry, I'm getting really off topic, but it's interesting. If you go to the web app like Spotify.com and log in there, and you go to your profile, you can see your top 5 artists of the month, which you can't see on the app you download.
Interesting. Am I sharing
that
my
on the
Spotify
home?
right now?
No.
No. Okay, good.
I think he said you should do it in browser. Yeah.
My top artists of the month are Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia Band, Legion of Mary, Rush, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Phil Collins. Phil Collins made it.
Nice.
Hey, good stuff. Hey, you come back to it enough. You come back to this album enough. It's pretty good.
Exactly.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not going to dox myself by opening up my Spotify, but I'll figure out after this.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at sometimes. It's like a little
top artist this month.
Inky
Is
asked
that
me to
only on the-
enable sharing when I send him the link. I'm confused.
If you see the share screen button, if there's a little arrow on it in the top
Yeah,
right,
I got
you
it.
should allow participant multiple. Yeah, that should be.
Oh,
should be good now.
multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Yeah,
Cool.
do that and then it will share.
Cool.
I will check that Spotify feature. Is that only on the web browser or is that also on the
Yeah.
web app?
It's only like Spotify.com. It's not like the app on your computer, which is weird, but that's just kind of how
I'll check it out.
Muy interesante.
You mind if I say some
mind.
things about the app?
Never mind. It wasn't in the past on the app but if you go look on the Spotify app on your computer and you go to top right account profile, click profile, you'll see it.
Tame Impala. No
Pinball
surprise.
Nice.
Pinball Wizard is my top track of the month.
Hey, it's a good one.
Mine is Deal, Citizens Bank Park.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't been listening to almost any music, so
Vital
That is
Signs.
ass.
Yeah,
Yep.
I really haven't been either.
just audiobooks. Imagine that.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seamus, yeah, I gotta wrap up soon, but I want to hear Seamus's take. And then you guys can keep going.
So, I agree with some of the things you guys said for sure. There was probably a point listening to the album where I checked the runtime, which is historically not a great sign, but there is a little bit of monotony or repetition, I think, in the album. To Nigel's point, like some of the things are reused, and I get where Nigel's coming from too with Phil Collins' voice. I don't think it's the most compelling voice. I was interested to hear his take on the drums too, because I don't really like electric drum kits. So a lot of the songs that use that, I'm kind of just like kind of tuned out of it immediately. Like One More Night, I think I knew within the first like 5 seconds that I was probably out on that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sussudio, I thought was an awesome song. It's not the first time I've heard it, but it was never on my radar. Like, it's not really something that like I've been around people playing. So
Here he comes.
hello, Inky. But I've enjoyed that song a lot. So I think I probably only listened to the album 1 or 2 times through cover to cover. But I kind of took notes as I went through it. But that being said, Sussudio is one that I listened to a bunch of times. And dude, I don't know, Nigel. Like that's kind of a crazy take. I think Inside Out is a sick song.
Not a
I'm
fan.
interested.
I agree. I think it's an
listen to it
awesome
again.
song.
Yeah. It's got a cool like guitar solo in the middle of it. It's got a sax solo too, doesn't it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Not
Uh,
enough. Not enough to redeem the terrible hook. I don't like the hook at all. It's so
I
annoying.
love I mean, say whatever about Phil Collins' voice, but I love like the it's a really simple bass line that it, like starts a song with. And I think that is kind of the backbone of most of the song, but I like it a lot. I was just blasting it on my drive home, just cruising down 76, windows open, air conditioner on, you know what I mean?
Let's
Um,
go.
Oh yeah.
so big fan of that song. Uh, I think I liked the album overall. I can see, I think all the points you're making, I agree with some of them, which is why, I wouldn't say like it's an 80s album. It's got a very uh almost cliche 80s sound to it. So I mean, comparing this to like the Men at Work album, which I think is a somewhat logical comparison to make again, just because they're the two most like 80s albums that we've listened to, I think. Uh I loved every song on the Men
Really
at
not
Work album.
1984.
Well, yeah, I guess that is like a really
Yeah. Jack brought
80s
up the
song,
like
but
two different realms that like existed. You had like the classic rock, it's so
Air
Yeah.
Sultans of
Melody.
Swing, Dire Straits, Van Halen,
Yeah. Yeah.
glam rock music, and then like pop, Hall and Oates, like esque stuff.
Yeah, synth, but also like electronic drum, and horns. Like there's no horns on 1984. And I listen, I love a good brass section. I'm a big ska guy, but it's yeah, like Dan said, it's a
Diamond
different
plates.
side of the
Diamond
coin.
plates.
Yeah, yeah. Different side of the same coin, I'd say. So um and so the other thing I was gonna say too is like midway through the album, yeah, there was a point where I checked the runtime. It's probably on one of the slower songs where like the monotony, and then it's not really the pace that I want to be listening to. But there is also a point somewhere in the back half where I was thinking like, okay, I might give this an A, so we'll see where I ultimately end up putting it. But
No.
the only other point that I really adamantly want to make, directed completely at Nigel, is that I don't even know if this is a serious take, but dude, I've always thought with music, like, if you want good lyrics, go read a fucking poem. Like
Nah,
listen,
nah,
like
nah, nah.
like inspiring lyrics, I think add something to the music, and we all can define what inspiration means and what it comes from. But unless they're like heinously corny or like just bad, like some of the pop and rap that you hear on the radio, like unless it's just like awful, for me it doesn't, and it's obvious of course, but for me it doesn't really detract from the music that I'm listening to. And that would probably just sum up my entire feelings about lyrics. But vocals are still something I pay a lot of attention to. I like
Yeah,
it though. I like the album.
I get what you're saying. I think just because this album is a lot of just looping stuff, um, right? Because they're not most of it's electronic drums, a bunch of looped synths. Like there's some like freestyle like riffs, guitar and synth stuff. But since it's so many loops, the standout part in a genre like this is usually the rhythm and the vocals, not necessarily the lyrics, but the vocals. And for me, like these are bad lyrics, and I don't like his vocals, so it's just
Go listen to your audiobooks
It's
then.
doomed from the start.
yeah, yeah, I would definitely rather go to a club and listen to an audiobook and then listen to most of this album.
You must be so fun at dinner parties.
Yeah.
I know so many factoids, dude. All the
Uh,
nonfiction I read.
that's funny.
I know you got to run, and we could probably just send another link. The other thing I wanted to say though, as I'm looking at my notes, so One More Night again was very plain and slow, and I didn't love it. And the other thing I wanted to say about it is that like whatever the xylophone keyboard things that were going on in it
Sounds like your own
just gave me
space.
huge PBS vibes.
Same,
Yeah.
dude. Oh
Yep.
man, that's exactly right.
Oh
That's a
my
funny
God.
take. I love that.
So that. Those are all my few cents on the album.
I don't want to make love at all. It feels like I'm watching fucking Sesame Street.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, You know where I stand. I think you can probably split the difference between Nigel and Seamus is where I would be ranked.
B.
I don't
Well,
want to
that's
start the
for us to
conversation
find
here.
out.
Yeah. I say take the average of Nigel and Seamus, and that's where I will be. Because I think that's kind of
Fair
where
enough.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
The dude would just like make sounds and it would come up with lyrics later.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it is gibberish. Like even in the
My
air
guy.
tonight, people try to read
Yeah.
into what in the air tonight means, but like I think it's just a bunch of words put together. A bunch of
So
different
about
phrases.
About that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely tell that from my appreciation of the lyrics that they're fucking garbage. They're meaningless.
No, that was about it for me though. Spun some good yarn. I think it's good for the context it's in. I haven't honestly thought too much about where I'm gonna put it. I think I'm just gonna have to see it on the list and hear what Dan has to say, obviously.
You're just gonna be a follower.
That's what I do most of these episodes, yeah. I'm easily influenced. It's really tough to formulate my own opinions. on
Rating
these
under the
songs.
influence.
Rating under the
Yes, I am a sheep.
Yeah. Whoever
Um,
speaks last, usually Inky just does that.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Opinion stolen.
Recency biased. Fucking-
Dan, sway me.
but
Yeah.
before he does that, Inky, what do you think of Inside Out?
Commercial break. Oh,
Not memorable at all. I honestly couldn't even tell you what
Damn.
song it was.
thank you. Thank you.
What was the
Let's do
conversation
it
on that
again
earlier?
because you're
I think I
wrong.
missed. I think so. Seamus, you were saying that was your favorite one.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
Susudio.
And Seamus, I don't know if you heard me, but when you were talking about the little xylophone PBS thing, I said that sounded like drum space. The first 5 seconds, don't you think?
Yeah, if
Especially
that's
the one we got in Wrigley.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
it's got to be the same one. I had the same thought, so
Okay,
I
perfect.
can't remember
Yeah.
what song it was, but it's got to be that one.
I'm glad we
If
said
we
it
both had the same thought in the first 10 seconds.
because you also said in Wrigley while we were there sitting in the seats. This is like a Donkey Kong sort of. Do you
I
remember
literally
that?
have in my notes. It's either this song or the song before that. It's just such like Crash Bandicoot vibes.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what it was.
Brilliant.
And I thought while listening to this and in Chicago in that seat, the exact same thing. So glad we're on that wavelength. Nice. Yeah. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No. It's kind of tough to
Sure.
go just kind of contrary to what a bunch of people just said. Because like I'm a big fan of this album and I have been. Like, I don't know. I just think it does a lot of the 80s shtick stuff well. Like I don't know. I guess some of these songs can seem pretty samey. And if you kind of put only you know and I know, I don't want to know, who said I would, and doesn't anybody stay together anymore in a bowl, you might mix them up. Like I get that. But I think they're all just like really fun. Like this is an easy listening album to me, to be honest. Like I think it all flows pretty well together. He uses all the apparent 80s tools like drum machines, the gated reverb, synths, the electric guitar sounds, like the guitarist Daryl Sturmer. I think he does a good job on those 3 songs he's listed on. As I said, I don't want to know kind of is the big takeaway song in my opinion, worth checking out. Sussudio, that's probably the most like overplayed radio song. Like at this point I could probably do without that. And if I had to pick another song, it might be Only You Know and I Know is another song I can go without. I really wouldn't skip another one. I like that a lot of people like Long Way to Go. I think I wasn't sure if people be a fan of that song, but I think it's probably one of the best in the album, along with I Don't Want to Know and Take Me Home. But it's just difficult to say. I'm a big fan of like how he uses all of the tools and makes a lot of these sounds. It may seem pretty samey, but I think it really flows together and creates this kind of cool 80s pastiche that like you can think and we'll look at it in like a museum and be like, oh, that's hokey, or like, oh, that's overdone. It's like an Andy Warhol painting. It's both commercial but kind of brilliant.
That's an
Gotcha.
interesting comparison.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I completely disagree, but yeah, interesting.
It's tough because like I'm just a big fan, and you guys didn't like it. So like, what can I say? Yeah, what you guys didn't like, I like.
Hey man, I think the majority of this podcast is sat in that seat already. So
Yeah, we
and
can't
it'll
all
be
be
my turn
Seamus and
soon.
only pick S albums.
Dude, I
Only
was
big
gonna say,
bangers.
I appreciate
Yeah.
Up
the
next, Boston's first
Mhm.
album.
I
Yeah, I'm kind of
appreciate
just throwing layups down the middle, but I'm sure I'll pick a stinker one of these times, and I'm gonna hear about it. So
You did pick Green Day. That was
oh
not very
yeah,
good.
true.
that was a joint pick.
This album
Okay.
holds a
Oh,
high
you know,
place in the
yeah.
'80s.
I guess it was.
I wish this album had more bass too, to be honest. I feel
I'm kind
like
of with you there.
it sounds
Fair.
I think a lot of his music is very it's like missing the whole low end of the spectrum. And his voice is
He's got a
also
lot of
like
horns.
very
That's so
filtered.
funny because people tell me I'm on the low end of the spectrum all the time.
You and Colin should link up. You guys
Oh,
you fill the spectrum perfectly together. Yeah, are we ready to rate this? James is
yeah,
just gone.
yes. It's also tough because like I'm just also a fan
Yeah.
of Phil Collins's voice.
You
So-
are a fan?
Yeah, he's like an early musical influence, at least in my
See,
eyes.
I don't know if I really don't like his voice, but I really don't like the way his voice is mixed. It just sounds like he cut out everything under like 5,000 hertz, and it's just like you just hear like a whine of his voice, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
kind of get it,
This
and
is,
he's really kind of going full force on this album.
And it's maybe the best example of that.
But
What's that, Seamus?
respect.
What's up?
Oh, did you say something?
No, sorry, I was probably making a bunch of noise because I had to grab my phone or laptop charger.
Okay. No, you're good.
Yeah. I guess
But,
should I say where I think this album would be, or where I put it on my list?
I have a feeling I know where you're gonna put it.
I mean, I made a joke that I would put it in S tier because I mean, I'm just a big fan of this album. It's got a special place in my heart. But I would easily put this right behind the Red Hot Chili Peppers album. Easily.
Okay.
Fair. Okay, I thought you were gonna put it in S.
Yeah, so you made a joke,
I
but you weren't
absolutely
serious.
would, but there's no way you guys would let that happen.
Yeah,
I'm
that would
already
not
making
happen.
compromises.
Well, we're asking you personally if it was your
See,
list.
I don't think you
I
should
would
do
put it
that.
in
I think
S,
you
dude.
should.
You would put in a where an S.
At the top, dude.
Oh my.
What? What?
That's
That's
unacceptable.
biased.
No,
Dan.
that's
Over those
that's-
three albums,
that's
I would,
heresy.
man.
That's-
My
Oh
personal
my
list.
goodness.
My personal list. But
Fair.
I
Need a
know
new
that
member of
is
the
not going to
podcast.
happen.
You're saying like based on your tastes, which is fair because I would say we're probably all different here, but somewhere around the same. Where it's like I vote with like 80% of my taste in mind, but 20% objective in mind, which is kind of the balancing factor. Um, dude, I think I would probably say high B, low A, but realistically, I'd probably pull it back to say now that I'm looking at what's in B, which I kind of always knew I was going to have to. I mean, I'm a big fan of the front three in B. I if it's going B for me, I'm putting it top of B.
Top
Or
of
if I
B?
could put it bottom B.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That is.
You'd put it
Yeah.
above everything in B.
It's hard. The two that stick out are In Through the Outdoor and American Idiot. I would put it above London Calling just because London Calling's isn't it a double LP?
Yeah.
Pretty long.
So it's like so something we talked about, like with something that long, like so if you have a 10-song album, I want to like 5 or 6 or 7 songs. And if you have a double LP, it means there's gotta be like 13, 14 songs on there that like you save. And I don't know if London Calling quite has that, nor does it have like enough songs that I like put on all the time. And this album, I don't know if it does have like 7 songs that I would save, but like the 4 or so that I like, I'm probably going to listen to a lot.
Okay. This is a C all the way, not even touching B. Now C has one of my favorite albums at the very bottom, so it makes it a little more difficult to rate because I wouldn't put it above that, but I don't think it's the bottom of
Right.
C. I think it's I don't know, dude. I think it's close to Chicago. I don't know if it's better or worse,
Yeesh.
but it's on par with Chicago Transit Authority. So I would put it at. Is it better than that album? Because that's another vocalist I don't like at all, and I think the musicianship is way better. I thought it was also
Chicago?
kind of forced. Yeah, Chicago.
Okay, yeah.
I thought the musicianship was I'm sorry, the like the style of songs. Thought a lot of it was like forced. I don't know. It's around top of C, I would say. Top of C or behind Chicago.
Jack said his was the average of both of your guys's, so I think he's middle of B then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere middle bottom of B, I would say. Thank you. What's your stance? If you
I think
have
I'm with Nigel. Towards bottom of B, top of
See, but
C.
Nigel went last. I feel like that's not fair.
Well,
Hey,
that's
all
how it goes.
tactical.
I pressed Dan. Like, what do you I wanted to hear something wild, and we got it. We got him on video saying that it would be top of S. I love it.
Yeah,
That is
dude, I love
insane
this
still in
album.
my mind.
I'm a big fan of this album.
But
I think that's the largest disparity that we've had is
I mean, it's literally like the
it's
entire
every
thing.
yeah.
Um, it's probably got to be
You
in.
heard my actual take for the tier list though. I put it bottom of A.
Nah, you screwed yourself, man. You don't know how the media works.
Oh, okay.
it's on video.
I'm on the
We're
record
recording
saying I
thing.
really like this album. Oh shit.
Yeah.
No, you said
Uh-oh.
it's
The media
top
is
of
gonna
S.
tear you up. The
Oh no.
liberal media is
My
coming for you,
career as a
man.
podcaster is over.
The Pink Floyd subreddit. You're fucked in.
Dude, I think it's interesting. Like, not only does this scale the widest gap that we've had so far. I mean, I guess Chicago would have been like an S for Jack, and it was like a D minus for Nigel. So
I don't know
Yeah.
if
like
Jack
that
said
album too.
S.
I don't know if he said S. I don't know if
Yeah.
he said S.
I may have. I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
don't think
even
Jack
like
said
a couple
S,
of
but
us had a hard time placing this. I feel like, I mean, I know I had to kind of consider that. So I don't know. I mean, do you think like mid B is a fair average? You got Inky and Nigel weighing it down a little
Say
bit.
high
Well,
B maybe, higher B.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think that's
Green
where everyone's going to be happy.
I'd
I
be
think
happy
the Green Day
above
album
Green
is
Day.
better.
Oh,
Definitely.
Oh,
I think
I just said above Green Day.
and I think Into the Outdoors much better. I think Abandoned Luncheonette is better.
Same.
I think
telling
Chicago.
me Billy
I think
Armstrong is a better singer than Phil Collins is terrible.
I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like,
That's what I'm hearing.
but I mean, come on, Boulevard of Broken Dreams and what is the holiday? I mean, there's more songs in there
Holiday
that
Inn.
there's more songs in that album that I would listen to than on this album. Even though,
That's
like,
shocking.
what is it? Take me out or whatever. Take me out to the ball game. Take me home.
I don't know what album you're talking
Dude,
about.
what album are we talking about right now? Dude?
That's Franz Ferdinand.
Take Me Home is an amazing song. Like that's not enough to make it an amazing album. I think it's right where Chicago is essentially.
I think it's got to go high B here. I think that's the average. It may,
You're weighing that as Dan as an S.
I'm weighing that as Dennis top of S. Yeah, he said it. We got it on video.
And what are you, Inky? You're saying what?
I think I could go anywhere from
He's gonna say yes
low.
Yeah,
Holy
Yeah,
shit!
no, now that I think about it.
Inflated.
because you said around Chicago before, no?
No, I said I think it could go anywhere from low B,
Chicago, Chicago.
low B to top C.
Low B to top C. Yeah. So I think if Dan's the outlier to begin, we've got a high B as
Then
with
you remove
Seamus.
him because he's now alive.
Yeah, he's biased. We don't care. No, so you have Seamus at top of B, Jack at middle of B, Inky at bottom of B, me at top of C. Yeah, I guess
yeah,
it's
high B.
mid to high B. Is
I
this
say
really
above
gonna
Green Day
go
still. I
is
don't
this
want to
gonna
put it.
go above Into the Outdoor? There's no
No, I don't want to do
chance.
that.
There's no chance this is better than Into the Outdoor. I
Yeah,
can
put it in
accept it
between
being
that and
better
Green
than
Day. I'll accept that it's better than Green Day.
I think that's fair. And I think now is a good time to remember, let's get all happy and sappy here, that like most of these albums are really good albums. Some are great, some are better than great, like 1984. Uh,
except Chicago and No
yeah.
Jacket Required. These are all great albums.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy. It's like we're sitting here, like you think B is like you start talking about B as if it's a mile off from being good, but that's just because it's the bottom of what we ranked. Like, let's just remember that this is an iceberg, and there is so much crap
Well
beneath
said.
water
Yep.
level that we're arguing over like like a double LP, an iconic double LP by the Clash, like I mean, one of Zeppelin's more divisive albums, but it's a Zeppelin album. Like I've said before, bad pizza is still good food. You know, that's what a bad Led Zeppelin album is. Green Day, iconic for a lot of our upbringing. American Beauty. I mean, obviously, a lot of us are live, like fans of live dead music, but like it's one of the Grateful Dead's most iconic studio albums. Like we're just shoveling things in front of it. Uh,
I
so
cannot
we've got
believe
great taste, is my point.
I can't believe you would put this album above The Bends or Rubber Soul or Business as Usual. Like I don't like
Doesn't
wow, dude.
compute.
It doesn't compute with me, but hey,
I
that's why
was,
you've got different people, you know,
gonna
different tastes.
say
This is
earlier,
our last episode.
Yeah.
now applications open for a fifth co-host. I was
Shit,
gonna
we
say
did
that
it.
I do appreciate, I think mostly Dan and Nigel sticking their necks out there a bit when they recommend and doing something that is maybe that will be a bit more divisive. I'm thinking of the Men at Work episode. That was, I'd say, a risk. The Nigel, what was the other, the Seals and Croft. And it is good
Definitely a risk.
yeah. It's high risk
Hey, I mean,
activity.
that's as close. That was pretty divisive on my end too, because that's an A album to me. That's an amazing album.
But it's good to
That
listen
shout was a
to new
scared
stuff.
money, don't make money pick by Nigel.
Not just about to get
Yeah.
incorporated.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that was almost a dig at me for picking layups, but
Uh
we
I
had great weeks doing it. So
yeah. So who's the real winner? Yeah. I don't know, Dan, any or anyone, any last thoughts on the album before we pick next week's?
No, I guess my
no,
credibility is a little bit torpedoed now, but
Yeah, you don't
no,
know
I
we'll
don't
bring
anything
that
think
about
back.
music.
We'll bring that back.
I don't think you should look at it that way. I mean,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely not.
Well, now you're just
This
punching
is
down,
better,
Seamus.
better than 1984. What?
You just
well,
need to say
yeah,
wild things.
I mean,
You need
that's
the
an outrageous
clicks.
take.
You need the
No,
clicks.
I'm just kidding. Um, no, I mean, we just I think we keep mixing it up pretty well between super popular, iconic albums and then just getting tastes of all the different corners of music. So
Well said. Is this the week, Nigel?